Bizarre how fast your life can change. One day I was serving medication for the clients I worked for. The next day, I myself received medication from those exact same blue pill boxes. I worked as a caregiver for a couple of years until I was committed to a psychiatric hospital for a year and a half in 2003. This had a huge impact on my life. During my stay, I was confronted with shocked family members and friends who distanced themselves from me. I tried to discuss this with the psychiatrist, but all talks were led back to symptoms and my diagnosis. I often felt misunderstood, being treated as a disease instead of as a human. When I was discharged, I felt determined to get my life back, so I decided to get back to work. I loved it, but there were several problems that led to me being fired. A month later, I was told I would never be able to work again. I was 27. Shocked by this turning point in my life, I isolated myself. I lost contact with the few people I had left and only spoke with people through the internet. Losing my job had major consequences. I could no longer pay my bills, and the bailiff visits caused panic attacks that controlled my entire day. Fortunately, I had a caregiver who was okay with me keeping contact through email, as I was often too anxious to leave my house for an appointment. When in 2008 I lost my house, I decided to contact Paarmeijer for a housing program. I wanted to know what Paarmeijer would find out about me, so I asked for my patient files. I read the following sentence. Miss Silva has got a lot of faith in her own abilities, but it is unlikely she will be able to follow through. This sentence unleashed so many emotions. Anger that this was written about me. Grief that no one bothered to help me boost the little confidence I had left. And despair, as I realized that this confidence was now completely gone. Frustrated about all of this, I had my interview with the caregiver of Paarmeijer. To my surprise, he wanted to know how the past years had been for me. He listened carefully and showed a lot of understanding and respect. He made me feel truly heard. He introduced me to the empowerment project of Paarmeijer, and there I heard peers talking about recovery and how they had managed to build their lives back up. In the 7 years I had been dwelling within the walls of psychiatry, I had never heard of this word, recovery. I felt a renewed sense of hope and determination and joined the team as a volunteer immediately. The team gives workshops on recovery and on how to find your strengths again, with your recovery story as a crucial element. I wrote my first recovery story, and while I was writing it, I realized that I had more than enough tools to help myself. I just wasn't always using them due to my lack of confidence. I started working with the team of the housing program, and together we looked at which tools I could use to rearrange my life. I was often scared to follow through, because I identified my feelings as symptoms. My supporters helped me to look at this from a different point of view by sharing their own life experiences with me. In the meanwhile, I was a volunteer for the Empowerment Project 3 days a week. I took the course Working with Your Own Experiences, and I started giving workshops. I loved doing this, but it wasn't easy. After communicating through the internet for almost 3 years, all of a sudden I was standing in the spotlight while I still felt like I was living in the dark, with the light within reach, but how to get there? My panic attacks got worse, and this time I decided to do something about it by following courses. One day I saw this quote, "Courage is being afraid and doing it anyway." This became my new motto, and I started to grab every opportunity that crossed my path, scared to death, but doing it. In December 2010, a job position for a peer supporter came out to join the Empowerment Project. I hesitated to apply. After all, I was told by a doctor I couldn't work. I eventually came to a life-changing conclusion. Do I want to keep pausing my life because I'm scared that I will have another psychosis? Absolutely not. I want to have the kind of life where I can grow, the kind of life that makes me happy. I applied, and I got the job. The Empowerment Project has expanded to the entire organization. Working with the Empowerment Vision means to change the focus of your life to your strengths instead of your weaknesses, to do the things that give you energy. Amplifying your qualities to face problems and make the connection with others to get a powerful network of people who share the same vision. There is only one way to make that connection: equality. For the last 2 years, I have worked with supporters who are my allies, thinking with me, but always leaving me in control, even in times of crisis. By sharing our life experiences, we inspire each other, and the cooperation becomes a learning process for both parties. I am glad that Paameijer wants a shift within the organization where supporters and clients actively search for what they can do for each other, embracing the client as a member of the team. I often think back of the sentence, Ms. Silva has a lot of faith in her own abilities, but it is unlikely she will be able to follow through. I hope that my story shows that the key to recovery is to move the focus to qualities instead of symptoms, to go from what's wrong to what is strong. When you're in a psychiatric hospital, your whole life is upside down. It is so important that this also gets addressed during your stay, being supported by caregivers who look at your skills to help you recover. When I look at how I have grown these last 2 years, from being someone who used to isolate herself, to becoming someone who grabs every chance she gets to share her knowledge about recovery, I couldn't have done that without the people who believed in me and became my ally, who treat me like an equal, which allows me to open up so the caregiver and I can get to the core of the problem that much quicker. I am convinced, and a living example, that an equal relationship between caregiver and client speeds up the recovery process. When I give workshops, I regularly meet people who have doubts whether or not people with a long-term psychiatric disability can recover. I think that the fact that someone whose life evolved around fear and anxiety for over 7 years now stands before you, an audience of 1,000 people, telling her story, shows that the possibilities for recovery are infinite. Thank you.